Today, I wanted to come to you to talk about dreams, about following your dreams.
BraveMaker means to me to conquer your fears and get over yourself. Tell your story because you are that story.
BraveMaker is about having courage to step forward, to face the unknown, and that's where you find your character.
I believe that all of us are here to tell a story and to do something that makes you happy.
The film is about a mother who counsels her son through video diaries.
It's a wonderful piece that takes place in 1961.
She finds out through the course of her interview that
even though her art was rejected, there are people who appreciate what she does.
And there's a little twist at the end that I won't give away. You have to see it.
So that's what I really hope people can do, is that we start listening to each other, and then we'll ask questions and then listen and believe.
We have our own blocks, our own mindsets, our own obstacles that stop us from getting to the dreams that we want to get to.
So what do you ladies think that help empower others?
Be open to giving, these women or girls a chance.
If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Just follow your dreams.
All of a sudden, that voice doesn't have as much power about, I'm going to go write that screenplay, or I'm going to go make that movie. As an example of, if you just put your mind to it and get out of your own way, you can make anything you want come true.
And I was just blown away by the film, blown away by his energy. And when he first started talking about a film fest, I said, I would love to have that here in Redwood City.
So when he told me about BraveMaker, I said, you know what? This is the type of film festival that I want to be aligned with.
The treasure that you seek is in the cave that you're afraid to walk into. I don't want you to walk into that cave. I want you to run in there as fast as humanly possible.
I am a brave maker. I am a brave maker.
I am a brave maker.
I am a brave maker.
BraveMaker Show is hosted by Tony Gaffasone and Christina Jackson. Thanks for tuning in. It's showtime.
Hey, what's up? It's showtime, everybody. This is our penultimate episode. I love that I get to say that, of 2022, episode 174. My name is Tony Gaffasone. I am a screenwriter, an actor, and a filmmaker. I'm in Redwood City, California. That's Northern California. And I'm a Caucasian guy. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm wearing glasses today, a red shirt, and brown hair in my BraveMaker studio with some purpley, bluey kind of lights going on. Christina, my forever co-host, gets to take the month off, so she is experiencing the holidays a little earlier than me. I miss her, but we have a really fantastic show and conversation happening for you today. If you listened to last week's show, you heard conversation from young actors who are in this new film that is Oscar buzzy. I can say that now. There was some fun controversy. If you follow all the trades is fancy for what's happening in the business, the deals happening in Variety, Hollywood Reporter, Deadline. if you want to follow filmmaking, you should definitely be reading these things. This Oscar buzzy film called Apollo 10.5, huge full page here in Variety magazine, is a really cool new animated film by Richard Linklater. And there's some fun buzz, which I'm excited to talk to the team behind making it today. Last week, we had the young actors. This week, we have the producers, the animation team, and another actor, adult actor, talking about Apollo 10.5. I'm going to bring in, first and foremost, the producer of Apollo 10.5, Mike Blizzard. Welcome to the show, Mike Blizzard. So glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Heck yeah.
Great intro.
Okay. So yeah, tell everybody we like to do a physical description, so we're making sure we're inclusive to all of our community. You can say, where you are, your pronouns, and anything you want about your physical appearance. Go for it, Mike. You're up.
Yeah, I'm a large white galoot of a dude in Austin, Texas. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I think that's about it. I'm wearing like a white overshirt, comfy. It's like mid-range here. Art by Felice House behind me.
I might say you look like a producer. You got some producer wear going on.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was trying for that look.
Okay, so let me just jump in with this, okay? Producing. What the heck is it? A lot of people call themselves producers. I call myself a producer. I'm writing a blog right now on producing, coming out on Friday. So I'm going to steal some stuff from you. But what and how would you describe producing?
You wouldn't believe how often I get this question. I've had people at Q&As, hey, what does the producer do? The way I would describe it most simply is that a producer, or at least one of the producers or a small team, are the people responsible, just bottom line responsible, that the film is produced and it's delivered. That can include a whole variety of actual tasks, just depending on the person's focus. I mean, this is obviously a complex project that had a lot of different moving parts and a lot of need for different types of expertise, So, but a producer, so that it's like being a CEO, I guess.
I like that.
To some degree, is like, what do? I don't know. They make sure that stuff happens,
yeah,
and then it gets done and finished in a reasonable amount on time. And obviously, you're creating the budget and timeline and things like that, or someone is creating that for you.
What I always like in this conversation is when a film wins Best Picture at the Oscars, the people who come up to receive those trophies are the producers. And really, because you're responsible for doing it all, would you say? I mean, in some regard, the first in, last out, the producer is a part of every single part of the process, right?
Yeah. And I mean, when you're working with Richard Linklater, he's also a producer on the project. So he is very, very much involved in all of that as well.
Yeah.
But, as far as sometimes the business side of things, especially, budget and everything, you're attempting to solve all those things without having to bring it to him, because his focus is on directing the picture, rehearsing the actors, writing the script, all that kind of stuff.
So I want to ask you one more question before we bring some more of your team out. Can you talk about the relationship between, now, Richard Linklater is this iconic film presence in our American culture of movie making. You're producing for him. So there's a side of the question that is probably unique, obviously, to him. But can you talk about working with a director, like the producer's relationship with a director? Now, Richard's also a producer too, but there is some uniqueness about what I hear you saying is getting the director to do their job, to have the space to focus on their job. You're taking things that they don't need to focus so that they can make sure they're focused on the storytelling and the actors. But I would love you to just kind of flesh out anything you can about working with Richard as a producer, but just in the relationship with the director in general.
Yeah, so I think the best circumstance is that all heck might be breaking loose. Things are falling apart behind.
It usually does, right?
All sorts of things, but that you've created such a protective bubble around the director and the shoot that they are blissfully unaware of this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like you don't bring problems to the director. You know, they're directing the movie. And so part of your job is sort of fixing all those problems that are constantly happening on, you know, very complicated endeavor. And so I think it's important to be friends and friendly, and we certainly are in this case. And I think that you're also, you know, depending on the director, you're also a source of, you know, emotional support, cheerleading, it's a very, very difficult process and sometimes personal. And so I think that being a good producer means that you're creating not just the physical space, but also the emotional and psychological space where these kinds of things can happen.
Yeah. Yeah, you're filling a lot of roles there. You're doing a lot of creative stuff. You're doing a lot of business stuff. Your therapy, comfort counts. I like that. All of that. Can I ask, in working with Richard, do you feel the sense of that he's such a presence? People want part of Richard, right? Do you kind of feel like, oh, it feels nice to not have to be the person who everybody wants, that you can really kind of be that buffer around him? Or does it actually create a little bit of challenge, because now there's this, it's not just, it's indie producing, right? But it's also, you're now in the spotlight a lot more as a producer.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're sort of in this in-between world of like Hollywood and indie.
Yeah.
Got a decent sized budget to make a movie, but not on the scale that, many, many others do. But also it's not, it's being financed in one way or another. But I do think that having that, buffer around the person, but also, just having that ability that they can focus on what they need to be doing. And I think you were asking it in a different way though, just about his, experience and everything. You could repeat that part of the question.
Yeah, well, Richard is such, from all the interviews I've seen, I'm a big fan of his, and I love Boyhood, and I know his journey to making films has been this really cool indie story, but now he's really out there where people are clamoring, right? They want a piece of him, and it's like maybe the fame machine in a way has really caught up to him, but he still seems like he's just doing his work and grounded. And so I wondered how that worked for you as a producer for someone like that.
He is the most chill person you could ever be around, and extremely patient. You had some of the kids on last week that were in the film. Now less kids, they're starting to become young adults. But his patience in directing them is just mind-blowing. And he credits it to some, genetic quirk or something, but I would be back there wanting to start, sticking sharp objects in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Things were, out of control with all these kids or taking longer than expected, but he remains just very steady and, okay, let's do it again. All right, let's try that again. And there's a certain vibe that he creates through that I want to extend, if possible, over the whole production. That we know this is a Richard Linklater film.
Yep.
This is how we do things.
That's cool.
We are chill and we are cool to one another, and obviously things get tense and people can get angry at times or whatever, but we treat each other with respect and we focus on the art we're trying to create. And he sets that standard from the top.
That's great.
And I'm just sort of an extension of that.
I appreciate that when I hear sets and those who've been participants as actors or crew on sets talking about working, as did the actors last week, talked about working with Richard and the space that he created. And that also is attributed to the producer team. So thank you for that, doing that. It's a great model. BraveMaker, we really value that too. When we do our projects, we want people to feel valued and connected and loved and never torn down or diminished for any role that they have. I'm going to bring in another part of your team, Lara Morgan, who can also speak to being on the production team. Lara, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell a little bit about what you do on the team with Mike?
Hi, I'm Lara Morgan. My pronouns are she, her. I am a white woman with pink hair. It is not natural. And I'm wearing a Criterion hat. I have a Killian Ing Lord of the Rings poster behind me. I'm wearing a sweater. and here I sit.
So filmmaker of you with the Criterion hat, Lord of the Rings, and thank you for clarifying the pink hair isn't natural. So tell us about your experience and your role on Apollo 10.5.
I served a few roles on Apollo 10.5, and I was Mike's assistant, but also Mike, because we have experience working in documentaries, we essentially, with another person, Bailey, were the kind of archival documentary team for Apollo 10.5, because a lot of it is, because it's a period piece, a lot of it uses archival material and almost works as kind of a documentary document of the time. And so we were researching starting, I think, Mike, in 2013.
Yes.
So, and it came out this year. So for a long time, we were finding TV guides from Houston and what was playing on TV and finding those specific episodes of TV shows and, you know, watching movies and also NASA archival material in their vast libraries and working with NASA, which is pretty cool. And then I went on to be the post-production coordinator. But yeah, a lot of archival and just assisting Mike in whatever ways I could.
So cool. Well, if you're just tuning in, I'm Tony Gapisone. I have the producing team of Apollo 10.5, which is a film out on Netflix. Animated rotoscoped. We're going to talk to the animation team in a second. I felt like watching it, I learned a lot about history, and it was really cool. It kind of sent me on my phone trying to look at, like, did that really happen? And what was that about? And it sounds like, you know, the research that went into it was huge. So you also mentioned post-production supervisor. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that role looks like, Laura?
I mean, a lot of that was because of how heavily like archival it was a lot of licensing, and also talking with lawyers about what we could claim fair use on. So say a TV show was actually playing at that exact moment that we show it, like on Wednesday of the moon launch. Well, we can, you know, argue fair use that this is like factually accurate instead of just like, we just want to show, you know, the Beverly Hillbillies or whatever. So it was that, and just kind of communicating between animators and Netflix and yeah, just kind of a conduit.
Dig it. Okay, so filmmakers, this is, by the way, I see a lot of you are live. If you have questions or comments, if you watch the film or questions about the making of it, you can always pop them in the chat. Our producer, Amy Cohen, is also live with us as well. Would love to bring those in. I want to talk about the collaboration. This is a what's called rotoscope animation. Can you talk a little bit about that right before we bring in your animation team? Because there's been a lot of talk this season about what is animation and what isn't. So you could share your thoughts, and then we're going to get the team of Minnow Mountain to come in and share their thoughts as well.
Mike,
well, obviously, if the movie isn't animated, someone needs to tell me what it is, because you know, the facts speak for themselves. You look at it, it's clearly animated, and it was done with a tremendous amount, as they can talk about, of, you know, hand-drawn animation. Rotoscoping was the beginning of animation. And so, but that aside, yeah, there's a multi-layered story here being told. As Laura talked about, you know, we've got this nonfiction frame of what was actually happening at the time that we created. You know, what was happening in the moon landing? How was that being reported? You know, we had like 30 hours of Walter Cronkite coverage. And then, you know, what was happening in culture, in Houston, in the news at that time, so that everything that we did, if they changed the channel, that was exactly the show that was playing at that time, so that we could sort of lock that nonfiction part. And then a big part of the story, besides the, you know, going to the moon, is really Richard Linklater and his family's recollections. And so we interviewed his sisters, and he wrote down his notes of all his memories of different incidents and of the time of being that age. And many of those stories, you know, they're the basis of the film. You know, the girls, you know, ironing each other's hair, or getting their hair stuck in the mixers, or loving the monkeys, or whatever it was. Those were all based on stories that he or his sisters told us. And so you're meshing those things together. And then Laura mentioned the archival footage from NASA. It's really important to note that that appears as if it's part of the movie, So there's times when that NASA footage, we're using it as if we filmed that capsule.
Mm-hmm.
And really, it's just NASA footage that's been animated over and melded with the things that we shot, for instance, in close-up of Milo. So there's a lot going on there, but the thing that tied it all together is the animation. Because we were able to animate over these different types of material of the time, we're able to transport people to 1969 Houston, and not to give too much away, but eventually to the moon. Would not have been possible as we initially imagined it as a live action film.
Okay, so we need to talk to these animators. We have the animators Craig and Steph from Minnow Mountain with us. All right, y'all, you did it. How hard was this to do everything that Mike was just sharing? Give us the down low with an introduction of yourself. We'll start with you, Steph.
All right, I'm Steph Swope. I'm the co-founder and producer at Minnow Mountain. My pronouns are she, hers. I'm in my home office right now. So if you see an orange fluffy kitty join me, then don't freak out. He comes and goes.
We could only hope.
And like Laura, my hair is also a fake color. Oh, there he is behind me.
Craig.
Hi, everybody. My name is Craig Staggs. He, him. I'm also in my home studio, which I'm surrounded by some plants and some books and a couple of antique Astroworld posters. And I have a long beard, hella mustache, some nerd glasses, and a receding hairline. I kind of look like young Santa Claus.
Great holiday reference there. The beard is on point. All right, so talk to us about. We've heard that this film was going on for years. When do you come into the process? You are in Austin as well, where the film was made. That makes it really nice. So people can also find you at minnowmountain.com. But tell us a little bit about the making of this and the arduous process it is to animate something.
Well, I guess I'll start. I was an animator on A Scanner Darkly some 20 years.
Wow, yeah.
And at that time, I was a no count, scummy little artist. And after that film, started a production company with Steph, and when we started it, one of our kind of stated goals was maybe Richard Linklater will make another movie and hire us. So it only took 20 years. And then we had Tommy Pilata who produced Scanner Darkly. We had worked with him a bit between the gap, and then he came to us when Richard had decided to pull the trigger on it being an animated film. I think there were several animations. There were iterations. There was a live action iteration. There was a stop motion iteration, I believe, at one time, and then once he decided to go with rotoscope, like Waking Life and like A Scanner Darkly, we were brought on and hit the ground running. It wasn't a long. Usually, films you talk for years to try to get everyone comfortable, but this happened pretty quick. So it's kind of a privilege of working with somebody like Richard, is that he doesn't have to convince anyone.
Is that going back to that idea of his presence, his persona as Richard Linklater? You're not having to really negotiate, like, should you do it or not, because you know it's going to be good. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and that happens in both directions. When he wants to make a movie, they let him, and then if Richard Linklater asks you to work on his movie, you say yes.
What a dream. But it's not easy to animate. Okay, so talk to us just really about the process of this. Last week we had Jessica Cohen, and she's one of our interns, and I need to just brag about her blog. She wrote that. You can find it at BraveMaker.com. She talked about, which we're going to meet one of the other actors in a minute here. She talked about being on set in Austin and filming for the time, lots of green screen. So you've got this interesting live component of actors in real life who are being filmed, and then you take all that footage and then you're animating over it. So just can you talk to us about that process, which is in the conversation for being nominated for an Oscar? I mean, that's no pressure, but that's pretty cool.
Steph, you go ahead.
Okay. It's pretty fun. I mean, it's a long and forever taking process, but worth it, of course, in the end. I think our team animated the most of it was about 10 months, and our total production was about a year. So, and like Craig said, it happened really quickly. You know, we were talking about it in January. They filmed in February. And we would have started a little earlier. We actually didn't start till July, but this pesky thing called a pandemic started up, and you know, we had to kind of figure out how that was all going to shake out. So, but we still ended up getting it done. And you want to talk about arduous? It was interesting and fun to learn how to have everybody working from home separately, but together, and keeping them all coordinated and on time. And that was a large part of what I did too. So.
Craig, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, the Oscar buzz, because I'm thank you for asking about the Oscar buzz.
Yes, very.
I mean, wow, what an amazing thing. In October, we were completely out. So
I followed that whole thing. It was really fun to kind of follow.
We were dead in the water. We weren't animation. We weren't going to get in. There was nothing. And since then, it's just been this tick up and this tick up. And now, you know, people are talking about us, you know, is within striking distance of getting that nomination, which is great. It's such a strong year of animation, so just to be in that conversation. But and I think the controversy might have actually helped us to get some eyes on the film. And we made an appeal to the Academy. They first initially disqualified us, and then we made an appeal, and the appeal was successful. So now we're qualified. We're one of the films in consideration, trying to get Academy voters to vote for the film and watch it. You know?
Yep. Well, let's bring in one of the actors who was one of the adult actors. We had all the youngins last week. So welcome, Billy Wise. Thanks for being here. Billy, how are you?
Tony, thank you for having me. How are y'all doing?
Billy, do your introduction. And while he's introducing himself, look him up on IMDb. This guy's got almost 100 acting credits. Pretty amazing career. Congratulations on being in Apollo 10.5. Go ahead and tell us where you're from and who you are.
My name is Billy Wise. I identify as a raging Irish Catholic Omega male. A lot of things are said about the alpha and the beta male, but not enough is sort of incorporated with the Omegans. We're here to back clean up or last in the rotation. We are going to tear your playhouse down, but we will help you fix it. We will bring it all back together. That's a wonderful thing. I am the Warren Oates of the Austin independent film community. Let's see, what else do we have happening here? I'm so glad I was involved in this production and this film. One of the things I do remember was it was just the best job I ever had because I was living in an apartment at the time in Austin. I'm in San Antonio right now. I run a facility that has a recording studio and a band rehearsal kind of thing. It's just me and the dog for the most part, but it was just the best job I ever had. You know what I mean? And working with Rick, and I've worked with him before a couple of 2, 3, 4, 7 times. It was just like being backstage at your own backstage gig. It was like basically being the singer in a cover band of just your cover songs, though you wrote them all. And that was kind of important too, because Rick's just such a buddy, you know, and we did this little 2-week period where we rehearsed, but also Rick's still writing the script, you know, he's still breathing it and he's still propping it up and he's still fortifying it. And I did find myself talking to some of the younger actors. It's like, you better speak now or forever hold your peace. Cause it's like, when we get out there, when we get into battle, you know what I mean? You're going to want to improvise and you probably will get cut down, so to speak, realizing that like, this is the time for the stronghold. And this is the time when you sort of get in the foxhole and make things happen. Because, you know, we wanted the dad to be in particular, like his dad and then my dad. And then also we're both dads. And then also a little bit of the old school, just TV dad, because by then with 1969, the dad would have been raised on enough television to where you can start to pull on the archetypes. You know, when my son saw the performance, my eldest, Hartley Albright, he said, like, you're just doing Darren McGavin in Christmas Story. And I was like, well, potentially there's a little bit of all
good.
that, you know, but as I say, it was the experience of a lifetime. And as Blizz will attest, I was a pretty good sergeant at arms. And the thing that I realized when I finally saw it on the big boy screen was it's nuanced in the way that you remember things in the form of pictures and photo albums. And what I tried to explain it to my actor buddies, it's like, well, technically Jack Black is telling this in the form of one big giant sort of flashback. So with flashbacks, you only remember like little snapshots and little photos. And some of my actor buddies were like, man, some of those scenes could have gone on a little longer. You know, because it's like, well, it's not a drama. You know, we're not flipping over tables and throwing rocks through windows. They're just these tiny little things. Also, as Blizz will attest, we couldn't get scenes with those kids longer than 30 or 45 seconds because they would break up or do something, or somebody would make a fart sound, or you just couldn't do it. This one quick.
Can you
story.
drop some names? Can you say who? Because we had Milo and everybody on the show last week. Do you want to call them out?
I'm not calling anybody out other than to say the little girls were known as my angels. So they were.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's just say it was the two younger dudes and leave it at that.
All right. Well, let's
also,
talk
they
about.
were just so excited, you know. It's just like you gotta like let them sort of, you know, get out their wiggles, as Jack Black would say. It was just a really genuine energy on that set where everyone was really happy. Everyone was really happy where they are, and just totally, anytime you walk through, anyone from production design to the animation team to anyone in the front office, everyone just had like basically a shit-eating grin on their face, like, this is weird. This is going to be cool.
Living your dreams.
Yeah, totally.
Well, Jessica Cohen, who played Jana, wrote in her blog that her audition process was pretty quick, that she heard within, I think, a week that when she did the audition and got the callback, chemistry, that she was cast on set. I would love to just talk a little bit about, because our audience is filled with film lovers, but also filmmakers and actors. I would love for, let's start with maybe Mike and Laura as producers, just things that you want actors to be aware of when it comes to the audition process. We often hear it's about relationships, about talent, it's about your vibe and energy in the room and in the space. But can you share anything about that, like that would help actors as they prepare to go on auditions? And now a lot of stuff's happening on self-tape to start with anyways, and Zoom, but anything you can add to that conversation?
Well, I will say that Bill was the first person cast.
Yes.
In the movie, and he did not have to audition.
Oh, lucky you.
As the dad, without any audition.
Great. And why was that? Because of the past history?
Because I'm so good looking.
Yeah, and then Rick just had, as the dad character developed, he just thought that's who this guy is. Like it fits him or whatever. And we had the ace in the hole, which was Jack Black being narrator. So no one was like bugging us to say, oh, you've got to cast with these kinds of people. We were able to cast whoever the heck we wanted.
Because you had Jack Black as the attractive name.
Yeah, Jack Black's on the thing. Now, we did have these two stars, Glenn Powell and Zach Levi, but that was just happenstance. They happened to both be in Austin. We knew they were going to be there. Glenn's grew up there. And so that happened. But Bill was the first character cast. Lee Eddy, a great example. I had known of Lee Eddy. Rick had known of her. She's a theater actor in Austin, but has also been in a bunch of film and TV stuff. And she created this audition tape that really should be sent out to the world. So she was going to be playing mom, and she is a mom. So she had her two little kids apply her makeup before she goes and does her scene in the backyard. And so her kids apply the makeup and they just smear it all across her face. And she's just got this crazy, like warp, whatever, just smeared makeup all over her face. And then she goes into her backyard and does this like serious monologue with her makeup smeared like that. It was brilliant. And I watched it and thought, this is our mom. And also she just had the right face to be animated. Like she also had been animated before by, I think Minnow Mountain, another project they had shown me.
That's cool.
But that was after.
Right height too.
She looked like a rotoscoped character. And what the biggest advice I could give though, as far as, the process is, when you look at one headshot after another that looks exactly the same with the same makeup and the same just overly like pretty, or, this is more for women, honestly. It's one person after another that looks exactly the same. And like no one's character is coming through on those headshots. And it's because the same people are taking the headshots, whatever. It's just like, have a headshot that looks like you look like, that looks like a real person that might be cast in a movie, rather than some, just sort of made up creation. That would be one piece of advice.
That's a really good tip. I think as actors, and I'm an actor myself, you're often feeling as if you're never enough, you're never right. But the fact is, your nose, your eyes, your ears, like the uniqueness of you is what somebody's looking for to cast. And the fact that you said her face had this certain vibe, that's so encouraging, because we're not all going to be the whatever, fill in the blank, the Brad Pitts or the whoever is that we think we need to be. But your look is your look. And if you're right, you're right. So that's great. I love that.
I'll also
Laura.
say about the child actors, I remember some of them who were just so perfect and so like hit everything exactly right in their audition tapes. Rick, at least for Rick, who is kind of a more naturalistic filmmaker, said they feel like Disney kids. I want kids who are kids. I want kids who are kind of moving around, and Milo was a very full of energy, laid back, but also laid back, like normal kid. And that's, I don't know about for every filmmaker, they might want the kind of like kid who's gonna, do all the things and smile all the right ways, but for Rick especially, he wanted kids who were kids.
So good. I love that. Okay, we got a question. This is going to lead for you, Stefan and Craig. This is actually one of our BraveMaker interns. Gabriel Perez is a high school student. He's actually a really great filmmaker too. So super curious about how the process of rotoscoping relates to animation. Is it easier or harder to rotoscope? Do you believe the art will continue to have a presence in the film industry in the future?
Oh, that's a great question. So harder. I mean, it depends, but I like to say harder. It depends on what you're going for. So, and now Apollo, for instance, it was really important that we had an authenticity and a kind of base universe that was pretty tight animation and really pretty challenging and difficult. So that when we went to the fantasy world, there was a grounding to it, so that and if you watch the film, you'll really understand that balance between the two things. And it's been around for 100 years, and I'm sure people will continue to use it as a process. I like it a lot. I love to watch rotoscope movies, and I like to make rotoscope movies. But technology is technology; it changes. But I love I love doing something that you could do on a wooden box. And the first rotoscope was an actual wooden box with a film projector pointed at the animator's face. I'm sure it was quite uncomfortable to stand there all day. And our process really is kind of an homage to that original process, just with all the digital bells and whistles thrown in.
Yeah, we work on computers, but our process is basically pen and ink. So it's essentially the same as it ever was, except it happens on a computer instead of with all of that ornate process that Craig was talking about. And I sure hope that we see more rotoscope in the future. That's what we do. So.
And you can find Steph and Craig at minnowmountain.com. It looks like you're not just doing feature films, you have short films. Can you talk a little bit about that? If a filmmaker had an idea, let's talk about the process of from idea, on a page, on a script, to the filming of it, to then the work that you do. What would a filmmaker need to have ready? Timeline? I don't know if you want to talk rates or anything like that, but let's say a filmmaker has an idea for a short film, for a 10 page rotoscoped story, what would they do? How would they connect with you, and what should they expect?
Well, they could, of course, connect with us through our website. The script is wonderful. The next step, after many other steps, it has to be filmed and edited first. So all of the steps that go into making a live action film happen before we even start. So you basically make your whole movie and then we make it again. So it requires a ton of planning, which is my jam. It is super fun. So, but it means a lot of thinking ahead, but we do that too. We do shorts. We've done opening title sequences just this year for Critical Role. We've done music videos. We have a TV show on Amazon called Undone that came out the same month that Apollo did. So
busy.
Season 2 of Undone we made at the same time we made Apollo. So, the capacity is there, but it's a long process, and we're always happy to help filmmakers go through it. So many that approach us have never made animation before.
Yeah.
And we're mindful of that. And, we want it to be a simple, easy process for them and painless also. We take the pain and we handle it and that vision come true,
You take the pain. We take the pain. I see a nice little tagline. We take the pain. So, Steph and Craig, this is great. I'm going to put this in your ear, but we do a film festival every July, 4 days, and we have filmmakers from all over the country come, and this is our 5th year. And we'd love to, maybe we could figure out a way to do like an animation workshop, and maybe we'll get more. We do have animations, an animation section, but maybe we'll see more. Maybe we could find a way for you all to get involved and share your wisdom, maybe in person sometime. That would be very, very cool.
I'll only do it if Bill comes.
Yeah, well, okay. Come on.
We would love that. We're totally into that sort of thing. And we do like to get that next generation going because it's so hard to break into this industry that, if we can offer a tiny leg up as much as we can, we're, more than happy to do that.
Very cool.
And we love to just that sort of thing. So holler at us, please. Yes.
I love it. All right. Well, we're almost to the end of our show for our segment called Brave Faves, but just a quick, one little mini lightning round we'll start with you, Billy. What do you want to say to people who are feeling they're at the end of the year, they're looking at 2022 going, dang it, I didn't do as much as I thought I would do, whatever, acting, filmmaking, animation, writing, whatever. What would you encourage them to do in 2023? Is there anything, one little tip they can do to just kind of keep moving forward, to not quit or jump start?
Gotta get up before noon, Tony.
Easy. Done. Yeah. Okay.
That's a good starter. Get a good breakfast in you, and if it needs to be a smoothie, if it needs to be eggs, just get yourself really sort of protein oriented early on, and then get out there and find your quest, baby. And keep a civil tongue in your head. Don't be a dick.
I love it. Man. Practical. Smoothies, sleep. Okay, good. Steph, what's your tip?
Just keep going. Don't stop. Just keep going. I've had a rough year this year, and it's one step after another, and you just keep moving forward. There's nothing else you can do, so do it mindfully and smartfully, and just try.
Thank you. Craig?
I mean, the same thing. If you do something 40 hours a week, it's really hard for anyone to stop you. So, put the hours in. And it's really amazing what you can accomplish if you just refuse to give up.
I hear a theme here. Lara.
Make friends and keep showing up. If your friends recruit you, just keep showing up and doing the work.
Truly, there's no solo in this industry. You all have your people, right? We all have our crew, and yeah, that's great. Thank you, Laura. And finally, Mike. Yeah,
one thing I think that people, obviously, I think this goes for actors, but just everybody feels, sort of insecure, has a certain amount of imposter syndrome. And I think that what's most important to know is that we all do. Like, very successful people are extremely nervous about their work.
Yeah.
They're awkward in different ways. They don't show that when on a TV interview, but when you get to know people, you realize, we all have insecurities. We're all scared, in various ways. And that it helps to know that. Like, okay, I'm an aspiring person and I've got all these fears and I'm worried and whatever. Well, yeah. So this is the person who you think has made it.
Yeah.
And so don't worry about that. That's natural. And in fact, it's sometimes, as hard as it is, it's really adaptable, meaning that you're being hard on yourself, and that's what makes you better in some ways. But that can be like this difficult balance for people. So that would be about it.
So good. I absorb all that stuff, y'all. Thank you. So good. Thank you, Mike, for being a producer at this level and reminding us everybody has insecurities. I think you're 100% right on. All right. Well, this is the final segment. Brave Faves, everybody. Stand by.
Brave Faves. TV shows, films, books, songs, technology, clothing, podcast, food, and more. These are a few of our favorite people, places, and things. Brave Faves.
All right. I just saw the film called The Menu yesterday in the theater, and it was great. I love thriller. I love horror kind of things. This is very satirical take on the food industry, but also anybody who I think creates, who is a maker of anything, will find some sort of solidarity in this. So my Brave Fave for the week is the new film called The Menu. I really loved it. Mike, what do you got? What's your Brave Fave? What do you want to fave?
I've been so darn busy that I don't have anything that's like current, because I haven't seen anything that's current hardly. Except I do want to say, and it's not just because Steph and Craig are on the show. If you haven't seen the show Undone, you really need to see it. It stars Rosa Salazar, who's also in the Robert Rodriguez Alita Battle Angel. She great person and very cool, but the show, it uses rotoscope animation to go like inside someone's mind rather than to go inside space. And I highly recommend it. Go back to the first season and watch both seasons. It's on Amazon.
Nice. Gotta love it. Gotta love the endorsement for your work, Stephen Craig. So Undone on Amazon.
Yeah, and your check is in the mail, Mike.
All right, Steph, what about you?
Can it be an author?
Could be anything. Could be food, could be a shoe, anything.
Oh, I have so many favorite shoes, but I'm going to go with author. Brandon Sanderson. His entire catalog is amazing. I'm especially partial to the Stormlight Archive, but really everything he's written is really imagined, thought out world universe even. So I've been totally obsessed with his writing for kind of a minute now, and I've turned on a lot of other people too. So here we are again for everybody. Oh, look, there they are. So the Way of Kings there on the bottom left, the book is a cube. It is this thick and this big. So if you like long fantasy books with a hell of a lot of imagination and a whole well-developed magical universe, then that will be your jam. And if Brandon Sanderson is listening, call me, dude. I want to make a movie of all of these books. Please call me.
we will host a podcast with you, Brandon, as well, and Steph will be the guest host. So bring that on. Craig, what about you?
I'll just be fangirling the whole time. So sorry, go ahead.
Lately, I've been enjoying two things. One is the World Cup. I'm a new World Cup person, and then the second thing is Mythic Quest, which is a show about a video game company, but it has a lot of parallels to working in the entertainment industry, and it is just a treat. If you haven't, I think is it Apple TV?
It's Apple, yeah.
Yeah. So
funny.
Mythic.
I highly recommend that as well. It's good. It's a good one. Lara, what about you? What's your fave for the week?
I've also been watching a lot of World Cup with Mike, actually. That's what you've been watching. But my favorite podcast right now is Films to be Buried With, which is hosted by Brett Goldstein, a.k.a. Roy Kent.
Ted Lasso guy, yep.
And the whole premise is you've died and gone to heaven, and everyone in heaven wants to find out about you from your favorite movie. So it's like, what's the first movie you remember seeing? What's the movie that you cried in the most? What's the movie that you laughed in the most? Things like that. So you get to, and it's like a lot of British comedians, or like Barry Jenkins was in an episode. So it's great. I love it so much.
Yeah, he has celebrity guests each week. It's so fun, and he's such a good host and conversationalist, and he's got a lot of knowledge too. That's a good fave. All right, and last but not least, Billy, what you got? What's your favorite thing of the week?
I've been going through some biographical documentary sort of understandings, and I hope I can get like where they're from right. But Rick and I were actually at Austin Film Society, and we saw a senior, which is the Robert Downey Sr.'s bio on, I believe it's on Netflix. So that's the one that I really, really dig at first. And then also on Netflix, I've seen it 3 times. This Jonah Hill sort of inspired, it's called Stutz, and it's about Phil Stutz, his therapist, which is also really, really beautiful and also really well conceived. And as an audience member, a big part of being able to enjoy documentaries is, you know, you think about yourself in relation to the studies and that whole thing. And then the third thing is the Ronnie James Dio documentary is amazing. It's on Showtime. It's called Dreamers Never Die. He's so good, you know, and he has all these eras, and he started singing before the Beatles, and you know, speaking of Mythic Quest, he's such a diehard, you know, Dragon Head and Dungeon Boy. It's just fantastic, you know, but also you just love the fact that he's just such a solid cat and ended really sort of like just ended up just passing on, realizing that he had a really, really magical existence. And easily one of my favorite periods is when he's singing for Black Sabbath. And you know that, Craig. You know when Ronnie James Dio sang for Sabbath. Mob Rules, Heaven and Hell, wonderful stuff. Wonderful. That's all I got, y'all.
Yeah, good stuff, everybody. Thank you so much for your faves. Do not go away. We're not done with you yet, but hey, thank you to everybody who watched and listened to the show. If you liked it on our YouTube page, please subscribe and share this with a friend. These are major movers and shakers in the film industry. And if you haven't watched Apollo 10.5, please go to Netflix and do it. And then come back to this and rewatch it and learn some stuff. And if you have filmmakers or actors or animators who are in your life, send this to them. It's super important. Go and follow all of them on their social media. Everything's on our Instagram page. If you go to BraveMaker, give us a follow and leave us a little note. Let us know what you like. Let us know maybe you have a suggestion for somebody we should have on the show. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, which means everything that we do is only possible because of our generous donors, our individuals, and our corporate sponsors. Our Film Fest coming up July 23rd, or July 2023, is totally funded by people who love the arts, who love filmmaking, who love brave stories and brave storytellers. If you want to become a donor in that way, you can donate right from your phone. You can just text the word BraveMaker, that's BraveMaker, one word, to 44321. Send a text. We have people who give $5 a month, $10 a month, $100 a month. All of that stuff helps myself and Christina, who's on holiday right now, do this show. We are so grateful for our team behind the scenes. We could not do it without our producer, Amy Cohen. Give it up for Amy Cohen, who produces and communicates with our guests and does our live quoting. We also have our podcast editor, Barnell Amos from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and our intern, Jessica Cohen, who takes these clips and will edit them and put them out on social media. We're so grateful for everybody who does this stuff. Carrie Alley, who is our social media producer. Y'all, thank you so much for making BraveMaker what it is. We have one more show, okay? So don't go away. Next week, I'm doing it at a special time. I'm doing it at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, just because I have to. We have the filmmaker Christine Weatherup of a new film called See You Next Christmas. So we're ending with a holiday movie. It's currently on Peacock right now. So go check out See You Next Christmas, an indie film, holiday film, which takes place over the Christmas party season, like 7 years in a row. It's a really fun idea. Come check it out and meet Christine. And thank you everybody else who was on the show today. You're awesome. We'll stay connected. We'll keep following your work. And I hope that you have a fantastic, fantastic holiday.
You do the same, Tony.
Yeah. Stay tuned just 1 minute so we can get a screenshot. Okay. We'll take a virtual photo of everybody on here. But thank you all so much. I really appreciate you being. We always end the show by saying brave stories change the world. You are the story. Don't go away.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at BraveMaker.org. Like, subscribe, and share. To become a monthly donor, text the word BraveMaker to 44321 or go to bravemaker.com/donate. Thanks for tuning in.